Hi, I'm Lola Aneke and I welcome you to Speak Dial on Finding Out with Special Needs. So it's still better speech and hearing month as declared by Aisha. Therefore, today I'll be sharing with us a few tips for promoting question answering tips in children with autism, Down syndrome, and learning disabilities. Oftentimes, when I speak to parents of children with disabilities, particularly children with communication disorders, this parent said to me that my child can talk, my child speaks, but whenever I ask him question, he does not answer me. Therefore, today I'll be sharing a few tips on promoting question and answering skills in these children. The first thing we need to know is that it is important for us to ensure that we gain their attention whenever we want to ask them questions. Okay, and the best way to gain their attention, like I said the other day, is to make sure we are on their level, be at the child's level. And it's not a time you can't get their attention when they're interested in a particular TV program that is very interesting to them, or when they're playing an interesting game, or when they're on their tab. You might not gain their attention at that time. Make sure they are not doing anything that's so engaging, such that when you speak to them, they will pay attention to you, and it's easier for you to be at their level so that you can see them when you're asking them questions. The second thing we need to know is that we need to give them time to process the information that you are presenting to them so that they can give you an answer. So if you remember, you realize that children with autism, children with communication disorders, they take their time to process the question you ask them. And if you put that into consideration, you want to ask the question over and over again. Just give them time. Wait for them to process that question so that they can answer you appropriately. The third tip we need to know is that we need to identify the question that they are successful at. Any question they answer you well on is the one you need to present more often. So to avoid frustration, make sure you don't ask them questions that they don't do well at. Ask them those questions that they do well at. So for example, if you're always asking them questions like what is your name, and the child does not answer you, you might want to rephrase the question by saying your name is, and then the child answers. So that way you know that the best way to ask this child question in ways that he won't be frustrated is to rephrase your question in simpler ways. Now, and because of the way questions have been asked, I think it would be ideal for me to share good question types with you. The first question type I'll be sharing with you today is the choice question. So when you ask children the choice questions, you are giving them a choice. Okay, so you may want to ask questions like, would you like to watch Barney or Bob the Builder? And the child could say Barney because Barney loves to sing. So when you ask them question that they can make a choice as to their preference, you'll find that it's easier for them to answer your questions. Another good question type is the open-ended question. One thing about the open-ended question is that it enables the child to think through the question. So you could ask questions about what happened before, what is happening now, or what will happen later. A good example would be what happened at the playground. So the child could remember that, oh, I scored a goal, and then they might be able to answer it, and that was something that was interesting to the child. You could also ask questions about what is happening now. So you could ask, oh, what's Barney going to do now? Or what is happening, what's going to happen to Barney now? And then the child could say, Barney's going to fall on the floor. You could also ask questions like, what will happen next? Or when Barney falls, the kids will pick Barney up. You see, that way they are interested in answering your question. Another good question type is the thinking questions. And the thinking question is the question that says how and why. So you could ask a question like, why is the baby crying? It's easier for the child to say because she's hungry. Or you could say, how did you know that was milk? And then the child would have to think and say, oh, because it was white. Okay? Another good question type is a cause and effect questions. So you could ask questions like, what happens when you jump too high on the bed? And the child could answer, bump my head, or I could bump my head. So cause and effect questions are good questions to use to ask children living with communication disorders. Okay. Now there are times that you might have used any of these good questions and still the child is still not responding to you. You might want to answer your question by yourself when you ask it, or rephrase the question. I'll give you examples. So you could ask a question like, what happened to the TV? And then your child is thinking. You might want to answer the question by saying, the power went off, okay? Or the TV went off. So you ask what happened to the TV. The child didn't answer, and the answer could be the TV went off. What happens at that time is that, remember, we are models to these children. You might think they're not listening. You might think they're not paying attention. Someday, very soon, as you keep modeling the right answer to them, you realize that they will answer you exactly the way the answer is meant to be given to you. Okay, they will answer the questions appropriately. A good way to rephrase the question is by asking question like, what do we do? Okay, you could ask a question like, why are you sleeping? Or why do we sleep? And then the child is wondering, why do we sleep? And maybe the child did not answer you. You might want to rephrase the question by saying, when we are tired, what do we do? You see, the child could say, we sleep. But you can see that that same question has been asked in another way and in a simpler way, because you gave a clue by saying, when we are tired, what do we do? These are the few tips I'll be sharing with us today, but I will recap like I always do. So the first thing I shared with us is that we must gain the attention of these children before we ask them a question, so that they can focus on the question. The second tip I gave to us is that we must give them time to process the question. Give them time to process the question so that they can be able to answer you appropriately. And then the third tip is that in order to reduce frustration, ensure that you ask these children questions that they are successful at. Don't ask them difficult questions. Ask them the question that you know that they will answer you appropriately. If not, they will go mute on you and will not answer your question. And I also shared good question types with us that you could ask children that will enable them to answer your question. The first one I shared with us is choice question, where you give them a choice as to what is happening or what they would prefer. Okay. Open-ended question is the second good question type that I shared with us. You want to ask them what happened before, what's happening now, or what happened yesterday before, what happened now, and what will happen next. Okay. Another good question type that I shared with us is the thinking question, the how and the why. Why is the baby crying? How did you fix that? Okay. The next good question type that I shared with us is the cause and effect question. So you want to ask, what happens if you do this? What happens if you run fast? Okay. And then lastly, I said to us that if a child is unable to answer a question, the quickest thing to do, the wisest thing to do, is to answer the question yourself. Somehow, as the child keeps hearing you and you keep modeling the right answer, the child will learn to answer the question. Or you might want to rephrase the question by making it simpler. I gave a good example of asking, why do we sleep? And if the child does not answer, you might want to rephrase by saying, when we are tired, what do we do? These are the few tips I'll be able to share with us today, and I hope it will prove itself helpful to you whenever you need to ask questions of children. Please do not forget to look out for my trainings coming up in a few days. The information is on the flyer. Thank you so much and have a blessed